There goes live.
Beautiful,
Man. Welcome, dude. Welcome to the farm.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Yeah, man. We've sort of talked about doing this for a little while.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
You're an interesting dude, man. And
thank you, man.
You sort of keep to yourself in a lot of ways. In not so much in the public eye, but in terms of outside of the person that you are. So I just thought, fuck, I'll pick your brain. I'll learn a bit about you.
Yeah.
Part of this sort of the reason, my motivation for doing this podcast is to no one sits down and just has a face-to-face conversation anymore, dude. Everyone's on their phones and that sort of shit.
Yeah, so for sure.
That'd be pretty cool. But you're a busy dude at the moment.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, what's it been now? We've been open for, this is our third week. So third week tomorrow.
Yeah.
Feels like 3 months, like the days are quite long, but I'm enjoying every second, and the business is growing quite well. We're building a bit of a community, even though it has been 3 weeks.
I've seen your podcast, your like go lives and that, man. They're pretty packed for a gym that just opened.
Yeah, not too bad, man, considering it. Like such a good group of people too come through. I'm in the Melton area. So man, like I said, it feels like I've been there for ages, and it feels like home already. Which is really, really good.
So who'd you do that with? You did it with your brother?
Pretty much. So it's still kind of under the same Team Ellis umbrella, just with like a different name and a bit of a different concept.
Yeah. Okay.
So pretty much all the same crews involved. So myself, my brothers, my parents and stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's cool, man. You guys have got an unbeatable team.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
It's obviously I know from my days doing the gym stuff and doing it by myself. Geez,
it's hard, isn't it?
It's a big task. So. You're really sort of lucky. You've got as people, but in saying that, you've been sort of doing this sort of shit for a while, haven't you? You've been started real young.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I first started doing like running my own business. I wouldn't even call it a business. I was just training people in the backyard, but I guess it was like my first taste of it. Like being self-employed, so to speak, since I was about probably 15, 16 in high school.
Did you do anything like a chicken shop or a fish and chip shop or nothing?
Nah, funny. Someone asked me like, "Oh, what job did you work?" Like, no, pretty much nothing. Like just like I held pets in the backyard since I was 15, and that's it. I done work experience at a pet shop. I was meant to be for a week at school. I'd done that for about 2 days, and they're like, "Bugger this, I can't do this." But that was the only work experience I've ever had, pretty much, and that's that. Then it's been boxing from there.
Yeah, I guess all is
pretty much, man.
Have a good or bad review on it, really, because you just what you've always done,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of cool though. You get to help some people out and that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have I know it's only early days in this gym, but is there any sort of can you already see people's attitudes and mindsets changing and that sort of thing?
100%. Well, we ran initially before the gym opened like a 28-day challenge. And just like a bit of a transformation challenge, both with their body, but also like focused on mindset too. And people like I've never boxed before, which I find like very flattering because I grew up around it and like the fighting aspect, like obviously my dad and us brothers fighting, people that have no interest in fighting but just want to learn boxing for the other benefits. And for me that's so rewarding for someone who's never put a pair of gloves on before, to have confidence, to bang the bag, to lose weight, say like you change their life, or you're helping to change their life through boxing. Is to me is like I still can't get over it, like maybe one day I'll get over it, but for now, like
it's a lot of trust to have in you too. Like you think like I know myself, like when we talk about like insecurities and shit, a lot of people think that, oh, Dave, you're a confident dude, or Darcy, you're a confident dude. But we all have those sort of insecurities. But these people that are coming to your gym, they've got 3 times the insecurity to come into an environment 100%. They don't know.
And I think that's the biggest thing in coming to, even boxing, it's quite stereotypical of people to think, oh, it's like, do I have to fight someone, or like, do I have to spar or whatnot?
Yeah, do you have to be covered in tattoos?
Yeah, exactly. If they walk into the gym, it's going to be like a scene from Rocky, we've got everyone banging their bags and screaming. So I think a big thing, and like hence the name with HitFit, is just not so like, we do obviously have fighters and stuff too, but the gym is not like a fighting gym, or it's not like a boxing fit class where like you learn no technique. It's just a bit of a combination of both, where I feel like there's a bit of a lack in Australia.
You got to cringe sometimes. Like I know, like you see, like I'm not going to name it, but there's some shit that comes up on my Instagram feed sometimes. So they got their level 1 in boxing, that sort of shit, and I just think like if you're going to teach something, teach it, like
absolutely.
Because I think there's a big issue, like a responsibility thing where you teach somebody a martial art, or they think they're learning boxing, and they go out into the real world and they think, hey, I'm safer. And they've learned boxercise, and they
different story.
I mean, something's probably better than nothing.
It's true. And I think too, it depends on kind of how personal trainers / gym market. I mean, if you're going to market like just boxing for fitness, I can understand like you do your level 1 and you're just using it like as a way to get fit. But if you're going to market like self-defense and like
people do, man,
and you know, we're going to probably be able to defend yourself before you can actually teach someone how to do it, you know? So yeah, like we're big on that. You know, most people come to the gym not so much to learn technique initially or to learn. Some people do for the self-defense aspect. They get more so started for like weight loss or like a physical transformation, so to speak. But as soon as they step foot in the door, it becomes about technique. It becomes about self-defense. It becomes about all the elements they weren't like quite anticipating when they first walked in the door, which
you know, the funny thing is about when you actually learn how to defend yourself, and then are you guys going to do much like body sparring, head sparring, and that sort of stuff?
Pretty much,
classes?
Yeah, for sure. We will do like in a controlled environment, so it's not flat out. And then like the fighters and stuff, we have separate. That's a little bit more like
intense.
A little bit more intense. But we do offer that. We call it like a contact class, where they are doing the things they do on a bag, but now on another person.
Yeah, I think that's important, but
for sure.
Because in terms of self-defense, I think it's not about being able to put it into practice, into real life, because the hope is that you never have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I talk about this all the time about a lion cruising the jungle. You know, we're training lions. And a lot of people sort of look at me and say, what are you talking about, Dave? But you think about a lion as an animal, they're pretty cute and fluffy. Yeah. Like if you just actually think about them as a stuffed toy, pretty cute and fluffy.
Yeah, sure.
Why aren't other animals like jumping on the lion, man?
For sure.
Just cruising around with like energy of, hey, I'm a badass motherfucker, you know? I'm not saying that we walk around with a strut on or nothing like that, but there is an energy. Do you get into much of that sort of?
It's funny you mentioned that, and I was saying a few things to some of the parents that came to gym about their kids, and pretty much on the exact same lines as you. Like us, me and my brothers, I can speak for, like my family, we really didn't really get into any street fights. And like we like boxed every day at the gym and like win boxing fight, so to speak, like quite often. But as far as like the street and that, and it's similar to what you're saying, because we were confident within ourselves and weren't really intimidated by anyone. Funny enough, like we didn't really get approached or like get picked on all that much throughout high school and in our adult life. So I think what you're saying is bloody spot on, you know.
It's a big thing. If you know how to look after yourself, you're not stressing out whether this motherfucker that just bumped me, like, you know, if he wants to go down that path, but you got an option A, B, and C before you go down that path.
And funny enough, you have the confidence to know it's actually quite dangerous for them. You know what I mean? Like, you're not so for like 100%.
Yeah, I smile now. Like being a bigger guy, like I think I probably run into different stuff than you have in the past, and you know, sometimes I'm a bit more cockier than I probably should be. But
after a few beers.
I'll probably mellow down after a few. It's when I'm sober.
Okay.
But I smile. And I think that smile is very scary. It's somebody that's like wanting to fight you. You know?
For sure.
You never got into any scraps in high school? Nothing?
Like here and there, like little tiffs, you know? And I've too, like with us, every time there was like a little bit of trouble, with like, I'll put the gloves on, look, organize the sparring session, you know, or whatever. If you had like trouble with someone, they end up just like sparring, you know. And we always had like the ring at our house, so like once every couple of months, like we'll do something there.
That's the go.
And it's more
safer
that fight way
me, come to my house.
Yeah, for sure. Or like if someone was interested or like wanted to give it a crack, you know, and see what it was like. And as soon as like someone got on top of someone else, like would stop it straight away, you know.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, like good times.
Barbecue beatdown.
Pretty much.
In Thailand, basically they just let anyone jump in
and bang each other.
There's this island, PP Island over there. There's this corner bar. And basically, if you want a bucket, it's a bucket drink. So they put 13 shots in this bucket. And a bunch of ice, and it's homemade liquor too. So it's like
hard shit.
It's whatever you're drinking. It could make you blind. But anyway, you're young and dumb. We'll go over there, and you want a bucket. You just have to do one fight, and then they announce somebody else. So you could go up against someone that's like 100 kilos, and you might be 60 kilos. But you want that bucket.
So to get the bucket, you have to win, or you just have to compete?
No, just have to compete.
You have to finish the rounds.
Oh, you can tap out any time.
Okay.
Dude, I was like. My mates, I hooked up with a bunch of like pommies over there.
Okay, nice.
And they were all soft as, and they were friendly guys. And we started off with some beer pong, and I was running out of cash because I'd been over there for a while. And so they said, "Oh, well, Dave, you're a fighter. We'll go to this bar. We can all get drunk." And I fought like 7 times that night. Yeah.
Yeah, far out.
All my mates are blind.
Yeah.
Because they had all these buckets, but fuck, they're the days. But
good times, huh?
Oh, big
Definitely
time.
only in Thailand. I don't think they'll be doing that anywhere else.
Yeah, nah. I would love that sort of shit over here. That would be mad. I would be
Imagine
there every weekend, dude. Don't have to pay for beers. That'd be mad. It's funny, but because like my family's really conservative, yeah.
Yeah.
So like mum and dad are like real like sort of Bible bashers. You know, dad doesn't give much of a of a thing, but I'm completely opposite.
Yeah.
How do you fit in that with you?
I was going to ask you, Dave, because I haven't really asked you much about your personal life. And as far as like your combat sports history, was that like passed down from like any of your parents or like siblings and stuff?
Nah, like me and my brother punched on heaps.
Yeah.
We never got on, but
yeah,
I was the opposite to you in that because I didn't do a martial art. I did basketball as growing up, and then I was really badly picked on, and then my dad started showing me some boxing stuff. Dad did a bit of aikido.
Okay, yeah,
but just enough to sort of defend myself, and then I was so badly picked on that I probably should have been expelled. I was suspended that many times from punch-ons in schools.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect example. Like kids without martial art training is there. I always talk about this when I had my gym, was that violence is a response of fear.
Yeah.
Because I was fearful, you know, I had to protect myself. I didn't know. I thought I'd have to get the jump on someone, you know. It's almost like prison in a lot of ways. High school. So, and then I got into it late. I got into it as an adult, like 18, 17, 18. And that's how that happened. But mum was always very athletic. She was in a netball. Yeah. And dad was a footy boy. He used to play for the Collingwood Reserves, that sort of stuff. So there's definitely genetics there being an athlete, but it was never martial art, and being that dad was brought up in a Christian home, mum in sort of an Anglican home, like it was very religious. So every Sunday at church, Sunday school, got baptized, all those sort of things. So I'm sort of, I wouldn't say the black sheep. I think my brother sort of covers that part, but I would say that martial arts and that sort of outgoing, loud behavior is certainly a bit uncharacteristic. Maybe it was the milkman, I don't know. But like all your family seems to be pretty much on the level in terms of they're all very similar in terms of personality from what I see. Whether that's just what you sort of project out there because you are quite a public family. Like, how do you think you fit in that? Like,
I think we kind of have similarities because we were like brought up relatively the same way. And we're like somewhat close in age. Like between Lester and Jake is 2 years. And then between me and Jake is like 4 years. So the most distance between me and my oldest both like 6 years. So like all in school together and high school, primary school.
You got a younger brother too,
Yeah, that's true. He's probably like a different one, and he's like completely different to us. That's funny enough. So I think because we had like a similar upbringing, like
what's the age gap there?
12 years. And he's different, man. I think we're quite confident people, but we're still, me, Lester, and Jake, quite reserved in some regards. But Dempsey, he's like loud, outgoing, like he makes like even does stuff like this, like in his own way, like podcasts, like film himself playing games and things like that. Like he's all over it.
That's the go, dude.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, like the thought of like being interviewed or like filming myself at that age would like absolutely terrify me, But he loves it.
Oh, that's it's strange that like your whole family's, they can all box, but they're not like on every card, it's almost like, man, if I had I saw you spar Shady. This would have been, what do you reckon? It would have been last year even.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Last year. You can bang, dude.
No, thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
And he's no slouch.
Shady. Like, especially in sparring, man. I'm telling you, I've seen like him spar some other people too, man. Again, I think he fights great too, but like in sparring sessions, I've seen him do things like, damn, I see like fighters in America do the stuff he does, So he's quite handy in sparring.
He's been around the block too. Do you think about like you guys were banging? You guys were taking shots.
Like we got each other a few good. I remember the day you were there. I think we done 4 rounds, and the first round we started with a head guard, and then we were like 2 weeks away from our fight, so we both took them off, took our tops off and stuff, but friendly. Like we weren't like.
Yeah, it's always friendly.
Of course,
100%.
And then we had a bit of fun the last 3 rounds.
Well, yeah, I was thinking to myself, far out, like from a outside point of view, because we say hi to each other and that, but you don't really sort of have a conversation about what type of people we are that often. I thought, far out, Darcy fucking likes to have a bang.
For sure.
From an outside point of view, I look at you, this quietly spoken guy, dude. You're taking some shots and probably giving just as good as you're getting. That's a big shot. I think. Have you ever sparred your brothers? Like,
not in recent years. I think because there is that bit of age gap. Like Lester was always the biggest. So Lester and Jake will spar each other, but Lester was probably like 10, 15 kilos, always bigger than Jake. So they never like go at each other where it was like
10,
even.
15 kilos is nothing though, like brothers having a dip.
Yeah, they would have had a dip, but I mean like Lester as kids were always like superior to us just because his size,
Yeah.
And then me and Jake, when I started at 12, Jake was about 16. It's hard for like Jake being 16 to bash me when I'm 12.
Did he teach you?
For sure. And he would like always go down to my level, so to speak, and like have wars with me early on. So he'd sit, like not purposely cop shots, but like sit there and like teach me how to trade and stuff at his expense, so to speak. And that taught me so much, man, from like 12, 13, 14, onwards.
He's pretty talented too, huh?
I reckon Jake, out of every Ellis, has to be the most technically skilled. Even as a kid, he was probably like 5 or 6 years old, like good stance, banging the pads with my dad and Keith.
Why do you reckon he doesn't do it anymore?
I'm not too sure. I think like all boxers will just come down to mind frame, like what they want out of life. Like you can be like the greatest boxer, but if you don't want to live that lifestyle, or you like you long for something else, like no matter how good you are, like you're never going to go to the next level if you don't want it that bad. And I think not that he didn't want it bad, but he just wanted other things more, like the shows and stuff, and that's what he gravitated towards, and he's doing really well at. So
it's a strange sport in that way, dude. Like I know about like how I thought about fights when I was 21, 21, compared to now, like something changes in you. Like, where do you go into your head? Like, where do you get excited for fights in like a hungry way? Like when I was young, dude, I was an animal. I just wanted to hurt people. Like, and I don't know whether that's probably more a reflection of maybe my insecurities or psychological weakness in a lot of ways. Because I think if that's that is your motivation to get in there to hurt someone, like probably you've got some shit you probably need to sort out.
For sure. But I guess that's the case for like a lot of fighters, and again, when it's all said and done, then often you hear a fighter have a good career, then after boxing, it goes a little bit downhill. My old man being one of them. But it's funny, usually like what makes you great sometimes can be your downfall, I guess. Like my dad, Tyson, a few of them guys. So it's important to have that balance. As much as like as a killer Mike Tyson is, like after boxing, you make all this money, make 100
we
million.
Can't even train anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
He was on Joe Rogan a little while ago saying that I can't even hit the bag. It just awakens that beast inside of me, and he wants to stay away from that. I think that's a really interesting thing to think about. I think about that too, like, and like I'm sort of winding down now, as you probably know, being that I it's a young man's game, where do you go to find that? Because training's not, a lot of people think, I want to fight when they rock up to your gym, right? They're like, I want to fight, I want to win titles, I want to do, I've had people say these exact sort of things to me, and then they train hard for 2 or 3 weeks, and then week 5 they're 2 or 3 times, and week 6 they're 2 times, and by week 7 they're finished. Like it's what keeps you going every time? Like,
well, I think go back to what you said initially. If you were talking about like where I stand with the whole fighting, I think probably as a kid it was for them reasons, and I was like pretty quiet as a kid. Never really got picked on, but like of my older brothers and dad had bigger personalities than me. I think like naturally I always wanted to not shine like how they shown, so to speak, but like like I make a name for myself, or like make my dad's like, oh, you're proud, of my brother's like, oh, good job, Darcy, and I was playing soccer a little bit, but I didn't get that because no one was really interested in it. I didn't get like, as a kid you always like seek for approval, I feel, and I felt like through boxing I got that, or everyone come watch me fight, I'll do well, or I'll stop someone as a kid, I'll win a big title, like it's the best feeling in the world, So I think initially for me it was that.
But now as a pro, like you're not fighting every second month or anything, you know, like what like now as an adult, you've got distractions, you got, you know, food, alcohol, you know, running business, because you've been involved in business for heaps of years. Like what's the thing that makes you get up every day to train? Because you can't miss a day.
Yeah. And it would be probably like a combination of one, like doing it for the business, you know, and the fact like fighting for the business for me, I think is quite noble and quite like, you know, for me, it's like if I can do that, like for example, our team, and I'm happy like to fight for the business, like you can definitely make it to a day on time, you know. So I feel like that in that regard, it's leading like by example. But in the same token too, like especially at a local level, you don't make like crazy money fighting, you know. So
you get hurt.
Yeah, for sure.
Even the fights that you win easily, most of the time you cop something.
For sure. Or the 8-week training camp in the lead up, you know, and that 8-week training camp too sometimes can affect the business in a bad way, so to speak, if you're not there, because you can't be at two places at once. So for me, it's very much like a balancing act. And I use the fighting as something like I do personally, if that makes sense as well, as much as I do it for the business. But like that's my time. I can be a little bit selfish when I'm training, or like if I'm sparring or preparing for the fight. At that moment, I'm not thinking about the business. I'm just thinking about myself and my own well-being.
How long would you train a day?
I'd probably do like, I think about 9 to 10 sessions a week. So sometimes I'll do twice, morning at night. Sometimes like on a harder day, I'll just do once, or like a sparring day, I'll just do once.
Who normally trains you?
Well, for a combination of my cousin Heath, initially for my first few fights, my brother Lester Jr., and then my dad. And then as of the last probably year and a half, Sam Brizzy too. And I've really been enjoying training with him. And it's good as much as...
He's got some dudes.
Oh, man. And he is so knowledgeable. And I told Sam this too. I said, I've learned so much through him, because it's always been like the Ellis way and stuff, which obviously I'm a fan of, and like that's my pedigree, so to speak. But it's good to just get like a different perspective, and his perspective on our style, because his family's been in it for yonks too, you know. So to combine the two, I felt like really worked for me, you know. Have that bit of CUNT that the Ellis bring out with the more technical side that he brings out in his guys, you know. He's got so many good amateurs. I love that combination of two, and since the last year and a half, I've probably felt like I've progressed like more than like my last 4 or 5 years, so to speak, you know, in that short period. So no, I'm very grateful for Sam Brizzy, absolutely.
Do you think like do you get stressed about like the shadow your dad casts? Does that like make you want to be, does that make you nervous before a fight? Fuck, I better win this because fuck, dad won these, you know.
Yeah, pretty much. A little yes and no, I guess, like,
because you can get caught. Dude.
Yeah, 100%, man.
You can have an absolute spastic in front of you
and have a shit night.
I can speak from that myself, dude. You know, is that how do you get rid of your nerves? Like, what do you do to calm that?
With the situation with my old man, I use it more kind of inspiration, I guess, too. It's hard to like feel that shadow too much, because I'm very like logical about the situation. Like Dad, from 12 every single day to when he was 19, like flat out, like obviously I've been quite consistent, but not as consistent as him with his training and his fights and stuff. So I understand Dad at 19 and me at 21, like, but Dad deserves to be a world champion, deserves to kick my ass. I haven't put as much work as him at 21 as he did when he was 19. So
it's a young age, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. So I never feel like, I should be better than my dad at the same age. I think, well, I'm 21 now. Give me another 5 or 6 years. When I'm 26, 28, more mature as a man, and I've had 20, 30 fights, then compare us then. You know what I mean? I'm not really, with boxing too, it's, you know, like yourself, it's not a sprint, you know, it's a marathon. I take it fight by fight. And the fact that my name is Ellis, I definitely get more rewards than someone's last name that wasn't Ellis. I'm a second or third fight. I'm able to support myself through fighting. Not many fighters have that luxury, you know, so I think there's more pros and cons.
Even as an amateur, did you have to sort of
that was probably the hardest for me, I would say, as a kid with my old man. Of like, I'd spar someone, I'd only be like, have 5, 6 fights, spar someone, you're there, you're sparring Lester Ellis' son, and straight away they'll only be young. The kid try out to kill me, or for them it's like a big deal, or their trainers, it's a big deal. For me, like I'm just trying to learn, you know, at that young age. But I guess now, like in the pros, it's the same deal. Like, you sparring Lester Ellis' son, they're filming, you know, they wanted to get like good footage and whatnot.
Yeah, they want to put a highlight reel of.
For sure.
It's like Conor McGregor sparring some of those boxing dudes. He got his ass handed in a lot of those sparring sessions, but we never see that.
Yeah, exactly right. So I guess it's just, for me as a kid, it just kind of conditioned me a little bit just to be comfortable with it. You know, I think right up to the gym, like some days are light, some days it's harder than fights, but like whatever it is, you just like roll with the punches, you know?
Yeah. I think, that's tough. Like, you're probably lucky in the fact that you do have a bit of a name by you, because and you've got such a powerful sort of boxing pedigree that you sort of can control most of the situations that you're in, you know.
Yeah.
But when did your dad sort of stop fighting?
We stopped. His exact age, I think he's 32 or 33 years as a pro. So all up, I shouldn't say as a pro. So he stopped, I think, in his late 30s. His last fight was against Mundine.
Yeah.
Around, I think it would have been like 35, 36, thereabout, in about that age.
It's a long time to be in the game.
And I think too, when you win a world title at 19 and you're having hard 15-round fights at 19, and then to go on another 15, 16 years after that period is huge, you know.
That was a big thing. Like once I won a title, it was like, it was instantly like I was not as hungry ever after that.
Yeah.
And even like the last title shot that I had, like I was hungry. I wanted to be there 100%. I trained hard for that, you know.
Yeah.
But like it just sort of, you start to put values on things in life and what's actually important, I guess.
Yeah.
But after I won a title, like it wasn't as easy to train for the second title. It wasn't as easy to train for the third title, you know.
Yeah.
So from your dad's point of view, I could probably see that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I think, for sure. How does your dad go as a coach? Because do you guys butt heads a bit?
Well, really, because I got so much respect for him. He always says like father and son don't work, which I gotta disagree, because even like Lomachenko and his dad worked like unbelievably. Yeah, so
you know,
maybe in his experience, or maybe he didn't like gel as well with his dad, because my grandfather, my dad's dad, was quite a good boxing coach as well.
Yeah.
But my dad gravitated more towards his brother, so my uncle Keith, and they really, really bonded. And they kind of had that father-son relationship, even though they were brothers.
Yeah.
But between me and Dad, because I respect him so much, I wouldn't dare say a word. If he says like do that, I wouldn't even question it. You know, I just do it wholeheartedly. But Dad, more than a trainer for me, is more like a mentor. And as long as he's there, they didn't even have to be a boxing instruction. Just like, relax, or you know what I mean? I'd like take it easy. Or you'd still say something that would seem so light in a stressful situation to make me think, like fuck, it's not that bad. I just had a shit round. Like next round will be better.
Yeah.
As opposed to like beat myself up, you know?
Yeah.
Which I feel like for me, I definitely need someone that's like calm in the corner and just like talks me through it.
You got to organize your thoughts as a fighter.
Oh, absolutely.
You got to compartmentalize things.
For sure.
You know, I don't think I've even sparred once. Or sometimes sparring, but like when I've sparred some serious dudes, I don't even think I've sparred without taking some damage where you're in pain in some part of your body.
Yeah.
And then you got to compartmentalize that pain. You got to be like,
for sure,
hey man, I can't take too much notice of this. I need to keep my eye on the prize here.
Absolutely.
It's that's something I like about boxing, man.
Yeah.
You don't play it like
not at all.
You've got some real world consequences. You fuck up, you're gonna know about it. You know?
And I think too, I was thinking about kind of what we'll talk about in today when I was driving through the gate, and I thought like, as far as like boxing has taught me so much about life and like even like business, and I approach like business the same I would boxing. It's not you go to work and then you sleep. Like it becomes a lifestyle, and like as a fighter, you don't just do what's required for fighting in the gym for 2-3 hours. It's reflected in your sleep. It's reflected in the sacrifices. Reflected in like your thoughts. You see a mirror, you start shadow boxing. Like I just can't help but shadow box every day. You know,
people. So I was talking about this the other day. In that people don't think about training. They train their body.
Yeah.
And they think about the food that they put in their body, and but they don't train their thoughts.
Yeah.
Do you sort of put much effort into mindset?
I do. I think moving forward in life, I'd like to kind of dedicate like a day or like at least an hour or 2 hours a week where
meditation,
I only just focus on that. I probably haven't been as active as I would have liked with that.
Yeah.
But every time I do have a bit of a shit day or I feel like I'm stressing about something, I do always take time. You know what? Fuck this. I need to take half an hour, go for a walk, or like I'm big on Alan Watts. If you ever heard of him, he's a old philosopher.
Yeah.
And when I am having a bit of a shit day, I watch like an hour or two of his videos and just listen to him, and then like that kind of usually gets my mind right. You know?
Yeah. Do you see? That's the thing. Like a lot of people, they've got some central goals in their life. You know, they sort of think about. Most people they want to go get a really good career.
Yeah.
Have a family.
Yeah.
You know. And for a lot of people, especially in this day and age, like relationships and things is like a central goal, like probably one of the biggest goals. That sort of stuff. Are those sort of things that are important to you or not?
Not really, man. Like, excuse my language, but I see it all as like bullshit, to be honest, because you can have like a central goal to like be in a relationship, then you're in a relationship for 6 years, and then things change, and now you hate each other. Like, it's not that the 6 years was a waste, but like, I just feel like, for me, I can speak personally. The most important thing for me is just having like a direction and purpose. Whether that's like in boxing, whether it's in something else, or whether it's in different avenues in boxing. I feel like if you wake up every day and like have something to strive for, like you're passionate about something, you're not looking at the clock, oh fuck, I'll finish in 3 hours, you know? You're just happy to be there and happy to be moving forward with it.
Enjoying life.
Yeah, 100%. If you can find happiness and like through what you're doing, or even better, is something that supports you financially, you know, and you don't have to stress about other things, so to speak. Yeah. And I feel like I'm lucky because I do have that with the gym. Yeah. So man, obviously it is hard work and like long hours and stuff. Yeah, but it's a fulfilling life nonetheless, you know. I'm not like earning for more, which I find beautiful.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing for me to move past. Yeah, and it's only really recent. I was always like, all right, who can I date now?
Yeah, for sure.
You know? And like serial monogamy, I was like, go from one girlfriend, a few weeks off, go get another girlfriend. Yeah. Like that's a big thing, you know. Like, and to not prioritize that, geez, it's a liberating feeling.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. And it's funny enough, when you do not prioritize and you work on yourself, you generally find the right person anyway, you know. You find the right person that fits into your life, so like your purpose or direction in life, and they help aid that. And I feel like if I was to get a relationship like that, like I'll be happy, you know.
I gotta ask you, bro. I've been wanting to ask this for fucking.
Don't tell me if I have a girlfriend.
I'm always like, fuck, this bloke must fucking pull, man.
No, I don't have a depends, man. I have like with like the girls that I'm seeing, I like to be like very friendly with them. Like initially, like I wouldn't like to just like go. I think it's hard to like running a business.
Diplomatic.
Yeah, and running a business to be playing around too much, you know, because it takes like time and effort. Funny enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do. Not to sound cliche, but like to get to know them beforehand, before I like let them into my life a little bit. I like tell them like personal things about me. I like to get to know them a little bit better.
That's hard too, man. People have different intentions.
Oh, absolutely.
And
for sure.
People might say that they've got pure intentions.
Yeah.
But I know, like from my own personal experience of like the type of people I attracted before I had a gym.
Yeah.
And the type of people I attracted after I had the gym.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, people just assume that because I own a gym, he must have money and he must have, you know, he's a popular guy, whatever, you know. And then you actually get to sit down with them and they realize, hey, this guy owns a gym for a fucking good reason. You know, he's switched on, you know.
Yeah.
You weed them out pretty quick when you get better at sort of figuring out who's who and who's who.
I think I probably learned lessons like that when I was fighting and stuff, because naturally I think there's always that fighter's charm, as I like to call it. I was lucky enough to do a stint on like 7 News, 9 News, and I was only young, like even like my high school friends or high school ex-girlfriends. Oh my God, I seen you on TV, blah, blah, blah. So I did at some point enjoy like, not the fame, because I'm far from famous, but the attention, I should say, you know, that I got from it.
Well, you have some level of fame. I mean, it's just like anything. You have levels of relationships, you have levels of fame. I mean, a lot of people know your last name. You know, I'd be in a pub before I even learned how to box, and people be going, "Oh, I used to be Lester Ellis's sparring partner."
Oh, that's it's funny when I hear stories like that, because like I'd far from like I wouldn't hate to use the word fame or anything like that, but when I hear stories, I think, fuck, like especially from Dad's point of view, like he must have made an impact back in the day, you know, like and hearing different perspectives and different stories from people, man, it's like it's a weird feeling, you know, but like it's a good feeling.
People don't have a lot of excitement in their lives.
Yeah.
And that's something I think I take from fighting, you know. It's made me realize like the excitement you can have in life.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like when you're on that edge of danger or you know, like when you actually break fighting down, regardless, Muay Thai, boxing, MMA, whatever it is, any sort of legitimate fighting, even Kyokushin karate, stuff like that, you know, like when you break that down, the person you're fighting is not just some schlep off the back of the back street.
Yeah, for sure.
He's been trying to hurt you, man.
100%.
Like, to put yourself in that situation, you're going against a lot of that. You're either fight or flight, you know, and you're either one or the other. Yeah. You're not nowhere in the middle. You've got there's not a fence. You can't be a fence sitter on that, you know. I think that sort of tests who you are, you know. So I think when people they mention like, oh, I used to be Lester Ellis's sparring partner. Yeah. Half of them, I roll my eyes. I go, mate, if I had $1 every time someone fucking told me that, you know. And then you put that we bring this back to relationships. Yeah. Girls want to say, I've dated Darcy Ellis.
Yeah.
You know, you look at your Facebook profile picture, bro. You're pretty
not bad,
Calvin Klein model on there, bro.
Nah, you're a legend. Nah, thanks, bro. I appreciate it. I reckon I look more like my mum than my dad, which is probably a good thing. But I still say my dad's a good-looking rooster, you know, back in the day.
How old are your mum and dad?
Well, mum's now 51 and dad's 53.
They're in pretty good nick for their age, bro.
Man. Yeah, and considering Dad put himself through a bit of abuse, one with boxing and like with other things.
Yeah,
like he went got a health check the other day, and he's made as good as gold. You know, like nothing. Obviously, like a few minor things here and there as you get older. Yeah. But as far as like everything's intact, and like my mum was like, "Oh my god, like, I can't believe it," you know.
Yeah.
But they're both very healthy, you know.
And they've stayed together. They've grown up with them together, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, the whole time, really. Yeah,
that's a big feat, dude.
Yeah,
like you think about just couples staying together.
Yeah.
In general these days, let alone someone that's been at the when did they get together? What age?
Well, mum was 21 and dad was 24 or 23 from memory.
He's still quite an active,
so
prominent.
About 30 years thereabouts.
But he's still quite a well-known household name. You know, like to be able to go through that sort of local stardom, like fame, you know, in the public eye, and to be able to go through that and still come out the other end of it, where now he's winding down. Like obviously he does lots of appearances and everyone wants to have a chat with that sort of thing, you know. That's a pretty big feat, you know. That sets a pretty high bar for you to find a woman that's you know, like that too.
Yeah,
you know?
Potentially. And with that too, even like when like Channel 9, like we didn't really actively seek them, or like Channel 7, they like seeked us. Like, we heard like they reached out to like I can't remember who they reached out to exactly, someone in our team, but we heard Lester Ellis' son is turning pro or having a fight, would like to do a story on the family.
Yeah.
And for them to reach out to us is like very humbling. You're like, oh fuck, like of course, you know. It's an honor. But yeah, even like seeing Dad interact with the guys on the footy show and stuff, and Eddie Maguire, there's footage of Eddie Maguire at my dad's first title defense. And when we were on the show, it cuts to like Dad stopping his opponent in the 13th round, and then cuts to Eddie Maguire like as a kid in the crowd, like putting his hands up and like cheering. And that's crazy, man. Like, you know, and again, to be a part of like that history from my dad, of course, like adds the pressure. But like, man, I wouldn't want to have it any other way, you know.
That's geez, it's such a renowned name, you know, like it's a household name. That Ellis name is such a household name. It's a lot of pressure. You reckon they'll try to tee you up with like Costa Zoo's son or something like that?
Maybe. I think because the weights are so different. Like it could like.
How heavy is he?
Well, what is he? He fought like super middle or light middle?
Yeah, 69. Camilleri?
Light middle, 69. Or what I fight 63? Like potentially, like, you know,
you could beef up.
I could beef up a little bit.
But you cut a bit. Like
I do. A little bit off. Yeah, I do. Probably like 6-7 kilos thereabouts.
Mundine and Danny Green fought each other like in their later years, and there's some big weight difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
There. So I mean, you know, maybe if there's two pretty big household names,
the
man.
Is worth the squeeze.
Yeah, I want to see that.
I wish I was the 169. He was 63.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's. Do you know what the thing is though? Like, it's not like. It's like Camilleri was beat the other day, right? And he's a legit dude.
Oh, for
like,
sure,
100% legit. Yeah. Like he's no journeyman, you know. So he must Costa Zoo's son.
I think so. I reckon
he must be able to bang up.
Absolutely, and there's a few names I reckon in Australia at the moment that have like definitely have the potential, and more importantly, the right management to take them to the next level. You know, because I'm sure you know, fighting's half the battle, management's the other half of the battle. Yeah. So and I've seen like the fights he's taking on the up and up. I mean, like to fight main event, you know.
How do we get boxing in Australia to be not as big as America? It's probably never going to be that big.
Yeah.
But how do we get it back to those names?
It's a numbers game. I mean, like in America, how many people box and what's the percentage of them actually going to the next level? It would be like 1% of people take it to the next level. In Australia, because we have such a small amount of numbers of the people that box, naturally, we're going to have an even smaller amount of numbers of the people that take it far.
Yeah, but you think about like, even go back, you know, you got Big Daddy Brown, Danny Green, you know, Mundine. There was an era of boxing in Australia, but now if you as a household, right? If you just ask your next door neighbors, like, did you see who fought on the weekend? They wouldn't know.
No way, no.
You know, so it has dropped. Like it definitely has.
Oh, for sure. And I think like even go back to like my old man, say with like himself, Jeff Fennick being another huge name, Barry Michael, Costa Zoo, like shortly after that period. I think that's where probably, and before then, Johnny Famishon, Lionel Rose, like that kind of period was like the golden era, you know?
Yeah.
But these days you wouldn't hear any Aussie boxer fighting for like a legitimate IBF or like a legitimate WBC. It's some like, you know, sanctioning or WBC silver or, you know, something like that. Even though the Aussies are still doing, I shouldn't really push it on them at all, you know, because there's a few doing really well, but not as good as like what it once was, you know.
Well, think about who's our biggest name, do you think?
Well, I reckon
Jeff Horn would have to be
number one.
Number one.
I think so. As far as like not up and comers, but like Prosper the Maloney's are killing it. I think like Cambosis too. Tim Zhu.
They got management that's throwing some money behind them. Yeah. I think they're fighting for an IBF title this weekend.
Potentially. I've been a bit out of the loop a little bit with the gym. I've been pretty much living there, you know, so I haven't really been keeping up.
So in an Asian country somewhere, IBF,
tremendous, beautiful.
So, but they've got the money behind them. Like it's really a case of money, isn't it?
Money and management, man. I think so.
Who do you think would win out of Costa Zhu and Jeff Horn? Because Costa Zhu's
at a young Zhu and Horn, I reckon that's a hard one. I think it's probably, in my opinion, a little bit too soon for Zhu to take a fight like that.
Yeah. Jeff can bang.
Yeah, he's got the experience. 12 rounds against Pacquiao. Even what was it against Crawford? 10 rounds. Where he got
Crawford's probably pound for pound, pretty close.
Potentially, arguably, absolutely.
Days, you know.
So that's a good one.
Yeah,
that'd be. I think to answer your question before, what would bring Australia back? Fights like that. Local fights on main event, more even boxing for fitness. Kids interested in boxing for fitness, and that's how they get their foot in the door. And then, I might want to compete. You know,
we need like a Oz kick for boxing, almost.
For sure, 100%.
Like a standardized thing across Australia, but also like we need media to throw attention and money, dude.
Yeah,
like if you're just like you think about that Danny Green and Mundine fight, that the pay-per-view on that was crazy. Yeah. The South Australian government put $13 million behind it.
There you go.
You know, like maybe our government needs to start throwing some coin behind it. We can get something happening. You know?
Yeah, even like in the amateurs, like you don't really hear many Aussie amateurs being well off. Like if you can barely survive as an Aussie amateur and make somewhat of a living, or even support yourself, you're lucky. You know,
even as a pro, dude.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And I think back in the day, I was being told by a friend of mine, like the average wage for a boxer. Yeah. And like compare that to now, like back in the day, you could have a few fights. You could potentially support yourself and like buy a house.
Well, now, Jeff Horn's still a primary school teacher.
Yeah.
Like
exactly how
he's not earning that much money if he's still a high school teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
That's a tricky question, you know.
Yeah.
It's how do you solve that puzzle? But do they want to solve it?
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to get violence off the streets and all that sort of stuff. And
there's, I guess, a conflict of interest, but
as we know that's the way to get violence off the streets.
Yeah, funny enough. Yeah. And I think I reckon a good spokesperson for Australian boxing, we had that like one star, or like, let's say, for example, Ali, he was as, what's the word I'm looking for? Like as powerful outside the ring with his speech as he was inside the ring.
It's and quite political.
For sure. And if we had someone like similar to that, even like 1/100th of that in Australian boxing, and like encourage kids to do it because of the other benefits, or you know what I mean, really, really through himself was like,
we don't have that bigger issues in Australia.
Yeah.
That's probably our biggest. If you think about Ali days, I mean, he's fighting racism.
Yeah.
A war that he didn't want to go fight for. And he said it famously. He's like, I'm not going to go kill other families' kids for you. Go kill them yourself.
Yeah.
You know? So the world had a lot bigger issues then. I think we've sort of evolved as human beings.
Yeah, that's true. But even like on a smaller aspect, I know like Jack Light, something I was really impressed about on his last fight, he just spoke about like the importance of like mental health and like things he was going through. And even the people I was just with like in the booth was like so moved by it, you know, and I messaged him after and stuff. Something obviously like on a local show, him just like fighting for a purpose. And like people get behind you, you know, people are interested in it. So I think if we, again, more boxers had that kind of approach, or we had like a Aussie boxing star that had that approach and we're doing it for this, or
they need to do like a contender, like an Ultimate Fighter or something for boxing.
Yeah, little things like that, you know,
something to get that back. Because I think it's a misconception that a lot of fighters are unintelligent, you know, or aggressive people.
Yeah.
And as you can hear, like I think we're quite articulate.
Somewhat.
I mean,
you're articulate. I don't know about me.
No, you haven't been punched in the head as much yet. When do you reckon you're going to have another run?
I've kind of been saying like towards the end of the year, I'd like to think like at the moment my priority is with the gym. And just make sure like that gets up and running to the best of its ability and the standard that I'm happy with, so I can like step out and like take some time for myself, so to speak.
Do you have aspirations to sort of move towards titles and stuff like that, or is it more just you're not there here nor there?
Definitely, to be honest, I think like if I can balance or work out a way where I can like balance both, then absolutely, because like I love as much as go one or two ways. I love to like show my kids belts, like I did this or I did that, you know. Like as my like that's why I was so inspired by my dad, because he tell me a story for this person, or like this is like what I got to show for like all my hard work. But the business is a little bit different. Like you'd hope in business there's like a check or something, you know, or with your kids. But I feel like especially like if I was to have kids, they'd be more moved like what I done in boxing than what I done in business, you know. So I think to have a combination of both.
You know, to have kids, you got to have a girlfriend. Well,
I don't know. I'm pretty sure like you have a baby oven, you know. Like, I don't know if they do that.
Girlfriend have a baby. I think it's such a. They talk about that, the world population at the moment. It's slowly diminishing in some areas because they're more focused on career and that sort of thing. So maybe, you know, the goals might change too.
I would love to be, I think I've always said, and again, I don't want to talk too soon, but things always change, but be like an older dad. I'd love to be like a little bit more settled in life before I have a kid. Because I feel like if I was to have a kid in the next 5 to 10 years, I'd be still like so like career driven, you know, that felt like I wouldn't be able to spend as much time with him as I would like. So I'd love to be like, somewhat settled, and then like put my focus more so in raising kids than like trying to dabble in both.
It'd be a nice life just to not have to work, you know, have a business set up where it requires less than 40 hours a week, you know, than what everyone else has to do, you know. It's a challenge to get down that path, you know. And I also think people's opinions of relationships or family structures changing. You know, like a lot of people going away from monogamy and they're starting to have, multiple partners for different reasons and stuff. Like that. I'm not saying that's your lifestyle, but you know, I'm not to judge what you decide to do. If I was in your shoes, bro, I'd have a different girl every night of the week.
But it's funny, man. I think because like I said before about like direction and purpose, like I'm so like focused on that. Like for me to think, well, if I was to do that, like it's not hours, you know, like far out. Like I'm just getting distracted from like what I really want to do.
It's not a central goal, you know.
Exactly. It's if it was, then maybe it'd be a different story. But for now, it's not. You know,
bro, if I was cruising around with your looks, Jesus, lock up your daughters.
You're too kind. Maybe I'll go on the reverse. I'll be sensible, like in my 20s and like 30s, 40s. I might come back around, you know.
Yeah, it could be. That could be. I can say that's probably been my experience.
Yeah, because you've been fighting, since what you said, like 18, 19, like.
Yeah, but I was in a long-term relationship when I was young. Okay. When I was your age, I was engaged, had the house.
Oh wow!
You know, and it didn't work out. But I was young and dumb. You know, she was older, so you know, you grow up as a lot. But then as I've gotten older, I felt like I missed out on a lot of shit. And so now I'm sort of just doing my own thing, you know, rocking my own party. And challenges. Do you set yourself challenges outside of fighting and business? And what do you surely your whole life's not boxing? What gets you
at the moment? It kind of is at the stage, really. Like more so now as of like with the gym, I just set like gym challenges. I'm like certain marks I want to hit kind of per month. In particular, I think I've really gravitated towards like being a trainer and enjoying like the training element. I've been obviously training people since I was young.
Because you Sylvia. She's a world champ, bro.
Well, I trained Sylvia for about a good 3 years in my backyard, and it was at the time when I was like probably like 17 thereabouts. So I had like experience from like growing up in a boxing family. But as far as like training someone of her caliber, because she was Aussie champ at the time, so like for fights, that was like still somewhat new for me. And then she come to the house to do a session, and then pretty much put all her faith and her whole career in my hands, you know what I mean? Which I thought was like...
Do you think you have to be a fighter to be a good trainer?
Absolutely not. No. 100% not. And the best trainers haven't been good fighters.
You know? Do you think you have to fight? Can you...
I think a little bit of boxing experience doesn't hurt. You know what it's like to be punched in the face. But as far as like being a good fighter or having many fights, like my Uncle Keith, rest his soul, I think he had like one amateur boxing fight, and he got awarded the Australian trainer of the century, which is a pretty good rap. You know? And like he
had some tough dudes coming
for sure.
I think that was something that I hear on the grapevine is that those boys were some hard motherfuckers.
Yeah, and the gym he had back in it, they're a little bit different to our gyms now, you know.
Yeah.
But they're like proper old school fight gyms, you know.
Dude, I think it's sometimes the best people come out of that.
Yeah.
You look at Jack Light. He trains in a shed, bro.
Yeah.
That dude's got some serious skill.
Absolutely.
I think Clint Alderton, he was a Australian champ, Vic champ.
Yeah.
They train in just like a derelict sort of bricked old gym, old school. You know, like you don't need fancy equipment.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, I started in a community hall with jigsaw mats on the ground. We didn't have bags.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's true. Yeah.
You don't really need much.
Absolutely.
What's his name? I think he just died from a massive heart attack. American street fighter.
Kimbo Slice.
Yeah. He used to train punching fridges. Punching on with dudes in the street.
Yeah.
You know,
there you go.
You don't need much to get by.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's a funny sport like that.
Yeah.
You know. What's your opinion of sparring? Do you think you need to do it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's very important. I feel like tailored sparring and like conditioned sparring, especially for like if you want to develop someone, is essential. And
do you think about the knocks to your head?
You mean, if I was like sparring myself, then I think to do it smart is probably the best way. I feel like having wars in the gym every day is like more like an old school mentality, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like if you're in a camp, like I like once a week, twice a week, you know, if I need to, but I feel like just one good spar a week against maybe like someone like a Shady or someone like quite handy.
Yeah.
And I just kind of in the week tailor my training to build up for the spar. So for me, it's like, I guess you're going to compare it to like footy. You have your few games and then the fight is like your final. So that's how I like to kind of like to focus on, and the sparring gets a little bit harder.
You don't worry about, this is something I get asked all the time.
Yeah.
Is like, what about later in life? You know, I don't know if you have noticed any effects on your body yet, but I mean, 31 years old. I've been now fighting pro for best part of 11 years.
Yeah.
You know, like your hands start hurting. You know, you start forgetting where you put your keys.
Yeah.
You hear that quite regularly.
Yeah.
Does that play on your mind?
Here and there, I guess. Like if you have like a bit of a shit day, then kind of thoughts creeping. You're like, oh, what about this? Or what about that? Or is it worth it? Or like, you kind of, I'm speaking like from an outward perspective, because as a fighter, you try not to let them things go in your head, you know, because very much like whatever's in front of me, I'm going to destroy, you know, like that's your mindset in that moment. But like just taking a step back from it, looking at it from an outside point of view, it does, you know, on certain days. I think for me, my biggest fear would be like to have any like brain damage or like not be able to speak, you know. That would probably be like the two things that like concern me most about the damage.
Some form of brain damage.
Oh, for sure.
That's
and I think
happen,
and to like what scale, you know.
Yeah.
And I like to think I'd have like people around me if I was like slowing down, so to speak, like, oh, like now's enough, you know, because how many fighters have reached that point and then like continued and like really gone downhill. Yeah. And there's been a lot.
Even your dad's a bit punchy, like the way he speaks.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure he's sharp as a tack, but I mean, he's got slurred speech.
Yeah, and he definitely got his short-term memory has been affected massively from boxing and obviously a little bit of alcohol too. During his bit of rough period. But anything like beforehand or like during his early days, there's everything, names, dates. I could say, do you remember this person from that time? Like, tell me a story about him. Now you can even tell you what he ate for lunch, you know, in the short term. So yeah, for sure. And he's his back's like pretty cooked from boxing, like, and all the damage and stuff too.
Yeah.
So it just, I think at some point in your career, you just got to weigh it up, you know, whether like the juice is worth the squeeze moving forward.
I think that's what probably Jake's done, hasn't he? Like maybe he's just gone, well, you know what, I can make more money, and be still involved in the sport, still love the sport in the same different way without getting punched in the face.
Yeah,
you know, amongst the multitude of things that he's into.
Yeah, for sure.
I know from myself, from a mindset, like I think it's better to call it quits sometimes, and I've called it quits once before. Yeah, obviously a back injury and that sort of thing, which is pretty common in the sport.
Yeah.
And then, you know, sometimes you just get bored in life and you got to find, and a lot of fighters struggle with that, like finding purpose outside. And that's what I mean.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's what I mean. Like asking about what do you do outside of boxing? Yeah.
Well, not a whole lot. Do you have a goal? Like, I guess like, not really, to be honest. Like most of my stuff is like with boxing and like in particular with the gym too.
Yeah.
And I think like in regards to fighting, once you've fought or like been involved in the sport, there's nothing that gives you that same high, unfortunately, unless like you take something like illicit or like some other like form of which I don't do, but I can imagine like you get a similar feeling, like a good buzz, you know. There's nothing in my life that I can compare to like winning a fight or like being in that environment, you know. You can't, you know, like whether you have you know, just a good night with a girl or whatever, but the feeling does not compare, in my opinion, you know. So even though like as much as I enjoy the business, I enjoy the training, I always get back to training a kid that wants to fight. I really like get that, oh yeah, we'll do this, we'll do that. Or if I'm preparing for a fight, it really just like ignites a fire in me, you know. So, and funny enough, it's probably not always the most financially smart decision to like invest all my time in like a kid that wants to fight, because like actually in the business there's like so many other elements, you know, important element. But like as of late, I just can't help it, you know. Like I'm happy to sit with you for 3 hours and like watch a fight or like go through these things because I'm just so passionate about it, you know.
I think
maybe I'm a sucker, I'm not sure.
No, you know, I think when I was like 21, 22, 23, it's all I could think about. You know, it was probably the downfall of my relationship. I'd get up at 4:30 in the morning. I'd run to about 5:30, and I'd get in my car as quick as I could to be at work at 6, and then I'd work from 6 till 4. Be at the gym at 5, train from 5 to 9. Back at home, same thing. No wonder my poor girlfriend bloody left me. I was in love with fighting more than I was, you know, a girl. You know? And that's why I ask, like, have you come to that conclusion? I'll guarantee you at some stage you're going to realize you need something outside of fighting, because you can't fight forever. You can't hold pads forever either. In saying that, you've been pretty smart with that, actually. I noticed that you don't really hold pads that often from you know, the traditional sense. A lot of the times you've got like battens and stuff.
Absolutely. I think mainly, especially with like if they're leading up to a fight, like it's hard to like train for a fight and then sit there and hold pads for someone when it's just too much damage on your body. So usually like in the lead up to the fights, and I'm still working with guys that I'm close with. I hold like oh my God, I went blank. The paddles, sorry. The paddles or the noodles, or like give more instructions, like more like them do shadow sparring or like working on the bag. And then of course, like I wouldn't never hold the pads, but I still hold pads, but just like incorporate different elements in like a one-on-one situation, you know. And I think funny enough, it's actually moving forward now that I am holding pads a lot more with because I'm not obviously actively fighting as of the last few months, made me a better coach, you know. It's easy to like chuck the pads on and go like a bit brain dead for like 20-30 minutes and just do combos. It's harder when like you got to give instructions and like you physically can't do it, you know. I think I'm a very physical person too, so I really have to rely on verbal instructions for them to get something out of the session and for
to
them
break that technique down.
For sure. And like it's easy like on the pad to get them to do, for example, the right hand, right? But to do it on the bag and you're like you're not involved in what they're doing, it's a bit different, you know. And I feel like from that element, it's made me a far greater group trainer, because as a group, you just rely on your instructions and like, explaining things clearly. So that's just helped me so much.
You learn from the mass of people too, like the easiest way that most people's brains think. You know, because my dad once said to me, Dave, you can't, not everyone's as smart as you. Not everyone's as good at a skill as you know. And so when you start training bulk people, like through, you know, 5 years of me having my gym, like there might have been over 2,000, 3,000 people that might have come through the door, you know.
For sure,
And so you had to learn, okay, most people's brains operate this way. So this is the way I'm going to teach most of the time. You know,
for sure.
That's
I think, that's been a big thing for me as well. When we first started the gym, as in like a group environment, because us has been like fighting, you sit down, you punches, you turn them in, like very rough around the edges, so to speak. But for someone that's never boxed before, you have to use like different language they understand, or like a language they may have heard in like a gym before.
Some of them haven't even watched a fight on YouTube before.
Absolutely.
You know,
so it's very important like how you come across and the words you use, and like simple instructions. I remember as when I first started, like you did this, you gotta do this and that, and like people like be like, we don't really know how to do that. Now it's like the simple the better, and if you can get everyone in the group at least understanding what you're saying, they might not be able to perform it just yet because they're new. But if everyone can have an understanding and walk out of the session, like that made sense to me. One, they're more likely to continue with it, you know, and like continue their journey. And get better.
Why'd you choose Melton?
Well, I was kind of and ahhing a little bit, but like where I would like to go. And like ideally, I would have liked somewhere like somewhat close to home. Like I still was happy to like travel and stuff. But we've always grown up like in and around the western suburbs. And I was just kind of looking where like a place where I thought like had like a large population and didn't necessarily have what I offer available.
Yeah.
And I was looking at a few different places and kind of like do Sunbury, like Gisborne, like in Melton too. I was thinking a little bit. And for some reason, I guess maybe a lack of experience, I always thought Melton would attract a crowd of like more people that wanted to fight.
Yeah.
And even that was obviously like one of my intentions when opening at the gym to attract that crowd. Yeah. I did want to kind of, again, with the concept, like attract people that never boxed before, you know, and get like a whole different market involved with the gym.
Yeah.
Then I decided, you know, I'm just going to give like Melton a crack, you know, and there's not too much around that area. And
do you have heaps of time during the day now? Do you find? And then you're busy at night?
Pretty much, yeah. So the mornings are pretty busy from like 5:30 to about 7:30.
Yeah.
And then like during the days, quiet at the gym, but like busy for me because I'm always like doing back end stuff or like admin stuff, you know, unfortunately. Yeah. And then at night from about 5 to 8 is pretty chockers. Lately. So
it's big days.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, probably I do like at least how many hours in a day? 24. I sleep about on average like 4 to 5 hours a day. So I'm averaging like 16, 17 hours a day as of the last like 3-4 months, you know.
It doesn't seem like work a lot of the time because you like it, you know,
100%.
You love it. You'd hope you love it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Tell me about because I wanted to ask about this because I'm obviously right into my horses. Tell me about your dad and horses.
Oh,
like
man.
That doesn't like that to me. I see your dad, I go. I guess people see that about me a lot. Like
what do you see in the horses?
Yeah. Go, where does the horses fit in with your dad?
Yeah. Well, he's a bit funny. He's like, man, at the moment, like he's always kind of had horses throughout his life.
Yeah.
But as of lately, he's been like all over it, man. Like he goes like feeds him like twice a day. Like he's there like pretty much the hours I'm at the gym,
bro.
He's like the same with the horse, you know. Maybe where I get like my dedication from. Like if he likes something, like he puts his whole life into it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it kind of stems back from like back in the day when I don't think he had horses when he was a kid. It's more like when he was a young man, like when he was fighting, he was able to like buy farms and stuff and like have horses there.
Can he ride?
He's not bad. He's like rough around the edges, but like he doesn't like confidence. Like he jumps straight on it. Like he probably, I guess, like if I was to relate it to boxing, he's not like he's more like a brawler when he jumps on a horse. You know, he just jumps on like
he's just hanging on.
Yeah, just hanging on. Like he goes all right, and like he controls it because he's confident.
Yeah.
But like I'm sure there's better ways you can go about it. You know.
Has he had any good falls or?
It had a couple good falls. One in particular story I've heard him tell me, and like a few other people tell me as well. I think he would have been young, like mid-20s or at worst early 30s.
Yeah.
And he was riding, and anyway, he's probably showing off, like doing things in his personality.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting bucked off because his foot got caught, and as his foot got caught, it's like half dragging, and as he's going down the court, horse kicked him in the head.
Yeah.
And lucky enough, like his foot got free because otherwise he would have been dragging along. You know, it could have really, really, really hurt him.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing when I'm saying this, and then like I think obviously from the experience from boxing and like being hurt and getting concussions, like he's absolutely knocked out. He gets up and like instinctively starts moving his head. Like, there wasn't many punches that were coming out from what I was told. There might have been like a few sloppy ones, but he like just resorted to like moving his head and stuff.
Yeah.
And then like slowly like he come to his wits a little bit, and then at that point like
it works like that sometimes, huh?
For sure. I guess like that's all he knows. That's his muscle memory, you know. When you got hit in that moment, like it's just to move his head.
Your brain's not on. Like the lights are on, but no one's home. Yeah. It's funny how our bodies work that way.
That's right. I would have loved to see footage of that. Like not that I want to see my dad get hurt.
I would want to see my dad.
Imagine that, man. If I seen that on YouTube or like Facebook, to me that's like a viral video, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And they were doing this script for my dad's movie, and like they're like going through like key like elements in his life to like reflect his personality through his character in the script. Yeah. And then when we're talking about,
is he playing himself or is he?
Nah, Lester Jr. will be playing my dad.
Oh yeah,
as a young man. But I would have loved if they'd like done some element like that. So just to really reflect like what kind of person dad was, because I guess the things you see on TV, just him as like a not clean cut, but like, you know, like a baby face. Yeah, man, I'm doing my own training hard, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah,
but like in his personal life, like a lot of shit's going on, and like even little stories like that and the things he would get up to is quite interesting, I think. And I think the people that are around dad know dad the best, you know.
Yeah. I think you guys have like a good bubble around you guys too, where like people don't really know what the inner sanctum's like.
Yeah.
You're pretty.
That's true. Yeah,
you're pretty good. But that's what's good about that movie. I guess people get interest for that.
Yeah.
Who? When's that sort of looking to come out?
Well, they reckon they're gonna like start filming or doing like making some traction towards it by the end of the year. Like we've like signed contracts and stuff.
Yeah. Right.
and everything. And initially it was going to be like my story about like solely just my dad and like as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
Now it's like eventuated between the story of my dad and Barry Michael. So it would touch him growing up, but more so like him training with Barry Michael when he was young and like Barry Michael as a mentor, and then them eventually like finding each other at the end.
Isn't that strange? They train with each other and then they end up fighting.
Ridiculous. And you never like the story you would have like, I've never heard that story before of like someone that you've trained with or that trained you, you end up finding him bloody 7 years later. So I think as well, like when
they're still good mates though.
They still get along, for sure. And they spend like a lot of time together, surprisingly, and like obviously like at the shows or like certain function, they do like also
they cross promote quite a bit, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And Barry's been good to us, even when I was fighting, he used to come and train me once a week for like a certain period of time.
Yeah. How's that getting trained by that caliber of people?
Yeah, for sure. And it's even like it's something money can't buy, that's for sure. But also, even I love being around Dad and Barry, even just their mindset. Like even now, it's like older men. There's like nothing they feel like they can't achieve. It's not like arrogant. It's just like they've got good self-esteem. Like I can do that. I'm bloody oath. Like you know what I mean?
100%.
And I just love being around it.
Well, that's what boxing is so important for young men.
Yeah,
we talk about young men making bad decisions all the time, and I think I talk about men's rights all the time. And men, there's like a men's rights movement at the moment that I see a lot of it. Probably something you think doesn't pop up on your feed, maybe, I don't know, but and they talk about and feminists and menace, they sort of battle each other in a lot of ways, and I just think that, man, if we need to teach young men how to be respectful towards women and this sort of stuff, like boxing is a great place to start. You don't have a you suddenly, that feeling of invincibility is taken away once you learn boxing, because you realize you're not.
100%.
You go in a boxing gym with that attitude, you're going to get touched up a bit, takes you off that pedestal a bit, and teaches young men how to treat that sort of thing. But also from a point of view of mindset of being successful in life. Like, there's a generation of people coming through that they don't. I've tried to have conversations with people and done like little mini podcasts with people, and try to sit down and have a conversation, and their brain's lazy. They don't think past the point of what they do. They just wake up and they go to university in the day, and they go home and they watch Netflix and they go to sleep, and they just repeat that cycle. So boxing's important because you have to go through those emotions and those mental anguishes and stuff.
No, definitely. And I think the big thing, what you said before, like I think, correct me if I'm wrong, kids that come from troubled backgrounds and make stupid decisions, they just don't have an outlet, And for me too, even though I'm quite reserved and be like well behaved as a kid, lucky for boxing, with any time I did have a shit day or I wanted to be, you know what I mean, that boxing allowed me a safe revenue to just have a dip, or like, you know what I mean, like let them like ugly parts of myself, not ugly, but the more kind of unpleasant sides of myself come out. Like you hurt someone, like finish them, like go there and knock someone out, but obviously in a environment that's safe for like both you and them, you're
able to purge that adversity in your life.
100%. And I think like some people just don't have that, so they do it through whatever, making bad decisions, fucking robbing something, stealing something, selling something, or feeling like, you know what I mean, that sense of worth through making money.
I think from a chemical point of view of like getting those endorphins out,
for sure,
that rush or that whatever it is, that's dealing with that, whatever's making you make dumb decisions.
For sure. And I guess like boxing too is that risk of you're risking your health and safety, but in a way where I think it's a lot more socially acceptable, and for you too, like it's safer, and you can potentially make a career of it. If you're risking your health and safety in like other things or like street related activities, you know, you still might get a rush from it, given you get away from it, but where is it leading you? It's leading you to a shit.
But you keep chasing that rush,
for sure.
And that's the way you know how to make the rush, which is with a bad intention. And then
on the other side with boxing, mate, if you do well, if you like it, if you keep beating people, or you can like change your life, you know what I mean? You can make a living off this, Dude,
even the guys that don't do so well,
still change their life.
They still change their life.
For sure.
You don't have to be you don't even have to get a pro. Like, for sure. In fact, to parts of that, like when I was training people, I would always say to people, don't become a pro. Like if you don't have an aspiration of being the best, like, I don't think you need to. Why risk your health? If you want to, know that you've been in the ring and tested yourself, just stay as an amateur. There's some deadly amateurs out there. that was always my advice. I think my mindset is changing in regards to how I view boxing now from a holistic point of view. You know, when I started, the UFC was just sort of beginning. So like sort of UFC 80, UFC 90, like years ago. Yeah. And so that was, and then it was starting to UFC 100 come and UFC changed ownership. And so it was on television, The Ultimate Fighter, season 1, you know, and I wanted to be an MMA fighter. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to do that sort of thing, you know. And then to come out the other end of it from Australian boxing and Australian MMA, even some of our best guys in Australia, there's probably maybe a handful of guys, you know, Dan Kelly, Kellen Potter, those sort of dudes in the MMA world. You know, it's still such a big ask for them to make that big stage. So now, as a holistic point of view, I see how the politics works too. There's so much politics in fighting, and a lot of people don't see that. They just rock up, they pay their $100 at the door, and they just see two people punch on. They don't see the matchmaking behind.
For sure.
It's rare. It's very rare to see a equally matched fight. You know, it's always someone's expecting to win and someone's expecting to lose. Like you're either one or the other. It's very rare that you get sort of such an evenly matched fight. In saying that, like
but in times when it does happen, like a Wilder Fury fight, then people really get behind it, you know. And I think like for way to boxing to be as big as it once was is to have more of them 50-50 fights. Like no one really, not the nation or whoever is watching, the audience is split, you know. Or like Errol Spence Crawford fight, or like a Mayweather Pacquiao. More of them fights, man. People just get interested, you know. I guess like when Leonard and Hagler and Hearns and Duran, like who's going to win at all? Like you just pay money to see it. You just want to see the result, and the fact that they're all fighting each other within a few years. Why was it so big? Now, like you said, the politics, it's a bit different, you know. A fight like takes bloody 4 to 5 years to get made, and at that point, like some people lose a bit of interest, you know.
But also from you've got to educate your fight fans. I think that's what the Ultimate Fighter did so well in, is because they watched the Ultimate Fighter, they're educated on, okay, this is how they train. This is their methods to train. This is what they eat. This is what they sleep. This is what it's like being a fighter. These are the mental issues they have as fighters. Fighters have, I think some as fighters, from speaking from his personal point of view, some of the biggest mental health struggles.
For sure.
You know, because you can't, when you're so dedicated to something, you've still got someone in 3 months' time that wants to hurt you. Like that. And so you're fighting all these natural sort of things that, you know, that go down. And it's learning the skills to be able to deal with those sort of things, you know. I'd love to see like a big name like yourself in terms of boxing take on a Costa Zoo or something. You get, you know, dude, I think obviously, you know, you've got to play the right cards at the right times, and you're 3 fights now, 4 fights.
It should have been 4, but 3 at the minute.
3 fights, like that's a big fight to take so early on, you know. So you know, you want to make sure that's the timing's right. I mean, that's something that Mayweather was so good at.
For sure. And this goes back to the management. The management, I guess, is good that I got a good team around me. I don't really like to think too methodical about like my boxing. It's more just go in there, train, and do the job. But I am lucky that I have a team that do think like that, you know, and like pick the right fight at the right time. So I think as a fighter, you just got to have trust in your team, and like that's it really, because you can't do everything as a fighter, you know.
I think that's hard because there's dudes out there that don't have a team, you know, that don't have, or sometimes I know some coaches, there's a couple of people in particular that come to mind, they just want to be a coach, so they're happy to put their dudes in front of anybody. That's a dangerous game to play,
for sure.
Like you know, because you're not, I always say, like, that's every time you jump in a fight, if that's a fight you're going to lose or take some serious damage, you know, there's years off your life.
For sure.
You know, that's an end consequence there. You know, so have a good team behind you, you know.
I think so.
You're pretty fortunate, man. Dude, I'd love to keep chatting with you, but we've gone well over our sort of hour benchmark.
We hit an hour, did we?
Yeah.
Far out. What are we, hour 13? That went quick, didn't it?
Yeah, man. It's pretty cool. I want to get some more people on this. This is only fairly new. But I think we've all got a story to tell.
Absolutely.
You know, there's going to be a lot of people that are sitting there at home and thinking, and then the average sort of view time on an hour podcast, I think it's 30 minutes or something like that from the stats I've seen. But a lot of people in jobs where they drive a car all day or they're driving trucks and stuff. They can just put their podcast on in the background and listen to just two people talk some shit.
Yeah, beautiful.
But good luck on your adventures, man.
Thanks, Dave.
With the gym coming up, and obviously, I'm sure I'll see you in the ring in no time. But I'll look to have you on again at some stage, dude, because we need podcasts.
100%. Thanks, Dave, man. It's an absolute pleasure being here.
Awesome, man. Nice to have you.
Cheers, bro.